All right, it's the morning after the first day of the year in January 2023. Today is Monday, January 2nd, 2023, and it's so beautiful to have you join us on the show. Happy New Year, happy everything, happy Christmas, happy everything that you've celebrated this season. Thank you so much for staying with us on Western Spring Television. The program is still Morning Spring, where we bring you insightful newspaper analysis, engaging interviews, and of course, we bring you who is trending, what is trending, why they are trending. As usual, we try to make light of things happening around you as a Nigerian, as a person living in Nigeria. And of course, we try to ensure that we bring these things into your perspective properly so you can properly understand them. My name is Emmanuel Ujiadegele, and there are no more countdowns. We're done with the Christmas countdown and the New Year countdown. It's just left to make money now, and as you can see, we're fully ready to make the money. Well, it's interesting to tell you this morning that on the show, we have a debutant, someone who's making her debut on the show this morning, just to tell you that we're ready to serve it to you as it is, from where it drops and when it drops. Don't forget to follow us on all our social media handles, on Facebook and Instagram at Western Spring Television, on Twitter at WSTV_NG, and on YouTube at Western Spring Television. Remember to please follow us and subscribe to our channel across all platforms. But let's come back to the studio this morning. There's a very beautiful lady in the studio, and I'd like her to just let you know who she is. Good morning, Temitope.
Good morning, Emmanuel. Good morning, viewers. My name is Temitope Ajijola, and it's nice to be here. Happy New Year, everyone.
She's a Nigerian, in case you're wondering, so don't get carried away yet. She's a Nigerian, and then we'll be bringing you together. We're bringing you some of the program, the interviews, the newspaper review, and of course, she won't be doing the spring trends. I'll be doing that, But in the same vein, we'll be trying to give you analyses of the newspapers and help you make sense of them. Before we bring our guests in this morning, of course, there's been so much happening in the political sphere, social-political sphere. Temitope, how did you spend the New Year, first of all?
Okay, I think I slept most of the time.
You slept?
Yes, I did.
Well, that means there were a lot of us who slept, because I spent the New Year on my bed, I couldn't just cope with the stress anymore, But this is Nigeria. A lot of things happen, and it's good to rest. So thank God we're back. And like Femi, we always pray for you. We pray that you always have the springs in your steps as you go about your business daily, and of course, over and beyond the celebratory period. We'll take this break now. When we come back, we'll bring you the papers. Do stay with us. All right, welcome back to the show. It's still Morning Spring on Western Spring Television, and it's time to bring you the newspapers this morning and tell you who's saying what and what is happening around the country. We'll begin with the Punch newspaper this morning. The Punch newspaper, January the 2nd, Monday, 2023. And the banner headline is a political story. It says, presidential poll, Obasanjo endorses Obi as Atiku Tinubu camps protest. Obi ahead of others in terms of knowledge, discipline, vitality, character. That's coming from Obasanjo. Ex-president says Nigeria became hell on earth under Buhari, scores APC low. Obasanjo endorsement worthless, is a political paperweight. That's coming from the APC and the PDP this morning. It's interesting that we're starting the year on some very intriguing political note.
Exactly. I was thinking the same. I mean, it's a very weighty theme. I mean, we've been expecting Obasanjo's endorsement all this while. And coming now, people have been speculating that he was going to throw his weight behind Obi. And now he has done so. And I think some of the things he said, some of the, how would I put it now? Some of the
comments he made in his letter.
Exactly. Yes. It was a very weighty letter as well. I mean, I read it through, and it showed a lot of insight and foresight. Someone of Obasanjo's caliber, endorsing somebody is something to really look into. And he made some points about Obi. Talking about, how he even said it. They said some factors. I think that was the PCVR or something.
Yes, TCV.
TVC or something. He said a lot of things about character. He said he also said that not all the candidates are saints. He said not all of them. In fact, he said all of them are not saints, and just that we have amongst devils there are lesser devils, and so it is better to look towards Obi, before you look to others, having worked with every single one of them, either directly or indirectly. And, it's really something interesting.
Well, we'll be bringing you some discussions on that particular story this morning in the interview segment. But let's quickly move on. It's interesting to see the number of riders under that story and the immediate reaction of the APC and the PDP, of course, as expected. It would be really interesting to see if some of those things would have been said if either the PDP or APC had gotten the endorsement. But still moving on still on the Punch newspaper this morning, a new year, governors' wives welcome first babies with gifts. You can see pictures of that happening all over the country. We have Ogun, Abia, Lagos, and Lagos again in the picture there. And at the bottom strip of the paper, motorists kill 5 dancers during party. Ajah policemen caught drinking on duty, abandoned work. Ogun couple killed after crossover service, son abducted. There's a picture there of the policeman caught drinking on duty after abandoning his work. There's so much has been said about the professionalism of the Nigerian police force, the officers. And recently, about last week, someone was killed in Lagos. And these are some of the issues, surrounding the police force. What are your thoughts on that?
I think a lot of work needs to be done on the comportment of police officers on duty. I mean, drinking on duty is really something that should be sanctioned, really. I mean, this is coming just, barely a week, or at least exactly a week, I think, after the other one in Lagos. And if we allow things like this to continue, I don't think people will have a lot. I mean, we don't even have a lot of faith in the police force. I mean, after the NSAS and all that. But coming now to a new year, I think that the police force should really do something, tangible to put the minds of people at rest.
Yeah, the police force needs to be sanitized. That's been an ongoing discussion that people have been talking about. The police force needs to be sanitized. All of these things need to stop happening. And above the nameplates this morning, NCDC emergency team meets over China COVID-19 surge. Of course, there's a lot of stories coming out from Southeast Asia where COVID-19 seems to be on the rise again. It's very sad, very sad. 6 million meters for deployment before June. Federal government is not talking about electricity now. There's a very big problem. There's electricity theft. There's non-availability of the electricity itself. Now, 6 million meters are ready for deployment before June. How do you see that happening?
I mean, it looks almost impossible. I mean, but we can't put it past the FG. They don't know what they have in plan or the parameters put in place to have this deployment happen before June. So let's see. I mean, it's also something to look into, especially with the preparation for the coming elections. It might be, really difficult, but let's see what happens. It's Nigeria.
All right, scarcity. FG plans inspection of fuel stations tanks, rather. That's on page 23 of the Punch newspaper. Remember that a lot of Nigerians spend their Christmas on queues waiting for petrol, trying to get fuel. And even yesterday also, there were some persons on queues, yes. I think around about Osogbo, everywhere in the country.
Everywhere. Very
sad that people are spending their festive period on the queue. And then the last story on the Punch newspaper this morning, besides the nameplate. Jonathan Adeboye make 100 most reputable Africans list. That's quite interesting. We have two of those elder statesmen across the divide, the spiritual divide and the political divide, making the 100 most reputable Africans list. That's the much on the Punch newspaper this morning.
Now, moving on to the Guardian newspapers, the headline says, APC PDP denounce OBJ's letter endorsing Obi. APC PDP denounce OBJ's letter endorsing Obi. I mean, just like we said in the other, during the Punch newspapers, we have APC and PDP denouncing OBJ's letter. And you made a point about what if it had been APC or PDP? Would the story have been different? I would like you to just talk about that.
Yes. I personally, from this chair where I sit, I think that it's just politicians politicking. Actually, if it falls to your side, you take it. If it doesn't fall to your side, you denounce it and all of that. Exactly. So there are a number of riders there. And OBJ was saying that Obi has an edge over the rest. And it's also interesting. We're going to talk to our guests about that the PDP, the APC actually made some very strong comments against Olusegun Obasanjo. Very, very strong words they used, talking about how is a political paperweight has no relevance in Africa. I mean, the same Obasanjo that we're talking about. So it's interesting that we're starting on a very interesting note in Nigeria. I mean, just few weeks to the election. We can't say months now. Just few weeks to the elections, and all of these intrigues are coming up. It's going to be interesting to see how it plays out.
It is. All right, just below the nameplate, it says New Year messages: Nigerians too sophisticated to be tricked with religion, says Akeredolu. And Serap sues Wike, Okowa, others over 62 billion naira legacy. Right, Jonathan Lawal, Douglas, others make 100 most reputable Africans list. You're right, we were talking about that the other time as well. Jonathan Lawal and Douglas, I mean, another, African, others make 100 most reputable African list. So what do you think that saw in Jonathan, especially, and Lawal, that made them make the most reputable Africans list?
Well, for former President Jonathan, I think that his position as an elder statesman in Nigeria and Africa as a whole actually qualifies him for that list. He has been involved in mediation in some of the African countries where military coups have taken place, where they've been turmoil and all of that, and he's been trying to ensure that there's a return to full democracy. So he does deserve to be on that list. For the others, I don't know the parameters, but I'm sure that if they are making the list, then they are deserving of it. But President Goodluck Jonathan is, of course, very well deserving of that.
Okay. Especially when he conceded defeat.
Yes, I think he began to write his own story from that point.
Exactly. All right, NBA raises panel over Raheem Buraimo deaths.
Well, I have an issue with that. I said last week on the show, on the Spring Trends, when a street was named after Raheem, in Lagos, in the Tiosa Local Council Development area. And I rightly aligned with the positions of people on social media. We should not be reactive. We should be proactive. If we're to continue naming streets after the what's it called now? Victims of police brutality. You know how many streets there will be all over the country with people's names? Exactly. So it's really sad that we act after these things have happened instead of acting before they happen to forestall them. The panel will sit and talk and talk and talk. At the end of the day, somebody will just go, and it's very sad.
It is. All right. On the Guardian, let's wrap it up. Just below the newspaper, it says group calls for caution in choice of new Ohaneze President General, and knocks as 12-year-old 12.850 billion naira constitution review investment fails.
Well, that that's Nigeria for you, where a lot of things go wrong, a lot of investments, government puts money into a lot of things and then it doesn't work out as it should. Well, that's the newspaper review segment for you this morning. We will be going on this break, and when we come back, we'll bring in our guests to speak to the issues that Nigerians began the year with yesterday. It's not a religious issue. It's not a sports issue, but of course it is a political issue. Former President Chief Olusegun Obasanjo was in the news yesterday after writing a strongly worded letter to Nigerians, especially the youth, asking them to take their mandate, saying it's their time. And of course, he had some very strong words too for some presidential candidates and of course those contesting the election next month. After this break, we'll bring you our guests to speak to these issues. Remember, you're still watching Morning Spring on Western Spring Television, and do well to follow us on all our social media handles. We'll be right back after this break.
Arrested, affected, sound, found. What do we see? What do we say? Flowing from a spring. A fact A to Z. Check and confirm. Eva is pounding current events. Traveling down from the business gist to the globally arising happenings, to the sports news, to the bittersweet infos. Guided transmission, even diffusion, vast and fast, detailed facts are fled. Within seconds, nuggets of words that flew across borders are fired. Stories short and long, wrapped in bundles of words, broken and dissected as it is, except misheard. This is the news as it is.
Sports is a culture on its own. It has its own language, its own people, with their own way of life. The world of sports is never void of actions, stories, dramas, and scandals. I guess you need a sports show that can walk the walk and talk the talk.
On this show, we answer all your sporting questions. The whens, the whys, the wheres, and even the what ifs. Sports Spring is that show that will give you that new lease of life you've been looking for in sport journalism. Join me, Joseph Atewe,
And your sports Amazon, Nengi Ernest.
on this station, Western Spring Television, channel 190, only on Star Times.
Let's talk sports. Let's speak the most universal language of the world.
Here are 5 amazing fun facts I bet you never knew about Christianity.
Number 1, there are over 2.4 billion Christians worldwide.
Amazing fun fact number 2. The Bible is one of the best-selling books of all time, with more than 100 million copies sold every year.
Most Christians believe in heaven and hell.
The Bible is the most translated book in the world, with more than 3,000 languages.
Amazing fun fact number 5. Most Christians throw science out of the window without realizing that most scientists are Christians. Hello, I am Pastor Steve Akinwumi.
And I am Dr. Adeoye Oyewole.
Join us as we highlight and discuss day-to-day issues pertaining to the day-to-day living of every Christian.
Issues in Christendom shows every Sunday on Western Spring Television, channel 190, only on Star Times.
Ẹ káàbọ̀ káàbọ̀ sínú oṣù tuntun lọ́dún tuntun. Dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ ẹlẹ́dàá rẹ̀ pé o lè rí oṣù àkọ́kọ́ nínú ọdún tuntun yìí torí pé ọ̀pọ̀ ló wù bẹ́ẹ̀ ṣùgbọ́n tí a kò fún wọn lóore ọ̀fẹ́. Ìkànnì móhùnmáwòrán WSTV ló ń wúre fún ọ wípé oṣù yìí á tù ọ́ lára o. Àníṣe ara kò ní ní ọ́ lóṣù yìí nítorí pé gbẹ̀dẹ̀ ní rọ kókò lágbàlá ọ̀gẹ̀dẹ̀ kì í rí nira kó tó dẹ̀ ara kò ní ní ọ́ lóṣù yìí gẹ́gẹ́ bí ọ̀dá irun kì í ti dá orí ohun rere gbogbo kò ní dá ọ lóṣù yìí àkàrà kì í kùtà lójúde àpọ́n ṣẹ̀ṣẹ̀ lọ́mọdé ń yọ̀ ọmẹyẹ ire gbogbo yóò máa tọ̀ ọ́ lẹ́yìn bó ṣe ń wọnú ọdún tuntun lọ. Ọmọ inú aláboyún kì í fẹsẹ̀ kọ bẹ́ẹ̀ sì ni ilẹ̀ kì í yọ ìgbín ò ní fẹsẹ̀ kọ lóṣù yìí àti àlọ àti àbọ̀ rẹ ni Elédùmarè yóò pamọ́ títí oṣù yìí. Ìkànnì móhùnmáwòrán WSTV ló ń wúre fún ọ wípé o ò ní ráhùn ohun rere gbogbo nínú ọdún yìí bó ṣe ń fi àdúrà ṣáájú nítorí pé òkèlè àkọ́bù kì í ráhùn ọbẹ̀ iná ṣáájú Olúwa ó sì jó àwọn ọ̀tá rẹ̀ run. Lọ́dún tuntun yìí iná Olúwa yóò máa jò yí ọ̀pọ̀ láti lé ibi gbogbo jìnnà rere sí ọ. Àṣẹ Ọlọ́run kò sí lọ lára Kàábà agbára wí bẹ́ẹ̀ jẹ́ bẹ́ẹ̀ tọ́lọ́run ọba Allah ni tí kì í yẹ̀ ìwàláàyè Ọlọ́run kò ní fi ọ́ sílẹ̀ bó o ti bẹ̀rẹ̀ ìrìn àjò oṣù tuntun àtọdún tuntun yìí. Káàbọ̀ sínú oṣù yìí ire ni tìrẹ láṣẹ Ìdùmarè. Ìwúre oṣù tuntun rèé o láti ìkànnì móhùnmáwòrán WSTV ìkànnì 150 channel 190 lórí StarTimes fún gbogbo ènìyàn.
Èdè Yorùbá jẹ́ ọ̀kan lára àwọn èdè tí wọ́n ń sọ ní agbègbè Niger Congo. Èdè Yorùbá gbajúgbajà ní àwọn orílẹ̀-èdè tó ń bẹ ní ẹkùn ìwọ̀ oòrùn ilẹ̀ adúláwọ̀. Ó kéré tán àwọn ènìyàn bíi mílíọ̀nù 14 ló ń sọ èdè Yorùbá lónìí. Ètò akọ́mọlédè ló ń dé sójú ìwòran yín láti iléeṣẹ́ móhùnmáwòrán WSTV ìkànnì 150 channel 190 lórí StarTimes. Folúṣọ́ Ayaolúwagbémiga ìyá ìjọ pèdèpèdè ìyá akọ́mọlédè ló kọ tèmi. Yorùbá dùn púpọ̀ Yorùbá ò lè kú Yorùbá ò lè parun tiwa làṣà tiwa lèdè tiwa nìṣẹ̀ṣe akọ́mọlédè. Èdè Yorùbá jẹ́ ọ̀kan lára àwọn èdè tí wọ́n ń sọ ní agbègbè Niger Congo. Èdè Yorùbá gbajúgbajà ní àwọn orílẹ̀-èdè tó ń bẹ ní ẹkùn ìwọ̀ oòrùn ilẹ̀ adúláwọ̀. Ó kéré tán àwọn ènìyàn bíi mílíọ̀nù 14 ló ń sọ èdè Yorùbá lónìí. Ètò akọ́mọlédè ló ń dé sójú ìwòran yín láti iléeṣẹ́ móhùnmáwòrán WSTV ìkànnì 150 channel 190 lórí StarTimes. Folúṣọ́ Ayaolúwagbémiga ìyá ìjọ pèdèpèdè ìyá akọ́mọlédè ló kọ tèmi. Yorùbá dùn púpọ̀ Yorùbá ò lè kú Yorùbá ò lè parun tiwa làṣà tiwa lèdè tiwa nìṣẹ̀ṣe akọ́mọlédè.
Rush me.
All right, thank you so much for joining us on the show again this morning. And thank you for keeping faith with us, for staying with us. My name is still Emmanuel Ujadigile, and of course, you're still on Morning Spring, where we bring you who is trending, what is trending, why they're trending. We also bring you as it is happening in the country to show you that we really mean business here and try to make light and proper perspective of all the issues trending. So let's get down to business. I did say earlier that we're going to look at some of the issues that have kickstarted the Nigerian political sphere this year. And this morning we're talking about a letter, the man of letters as is known, former President Chief Olusegun Obasanjo wrote one of his letters yesterday, 6 pages, where he addressed Nigerians and said a lot of things about the forthcoming election. But particularly the major issue was this endorsement of one presidential candidate who is, of course, seen as the third force or the fourth force, if you like, according to some persons. And that's the presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Peter Obi, who has now been endorsed by former President Chief Olusegun Obasanjo. And that has elicited a lot of reactions, particularly from the two major political parties that we have, the All Progressives Congress, APC, and People's Democratic Party, PDP. Both of them have stated their opinions very strongly, I must say, on President Obasanjo's endorsement. And we're joined in the studio this morning by the Director General of the Presidential Campaign Council of the Labour Party in Osun State, Mr. Olusegun Babalola. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Yeah, good morning.
It's good to have you in the studio.
I'm so happy to be here as well.
All right, so let's just look at it. How did you receive Chief Obasanjo's letter yesterday?
Yeah, with joy. Like, basically, we could say that because really, there's a movement going on. Let's call it Obidat movement. It's like a continuation of the EndSARS movement. Like people yearning for a new Nigeria, what we can call Nigerian dream. And see, young people, mostly, they're about 71% of the population. We want a new country. Not all of us can travel abroad, but we are committed to change this country for good, to fight insurgency, to go against corruption, to go against bad leadership, to go against mismanagement of diversity, and particularly mismanagement of economy. We're tired, What we want now is a new Nigeria that will lead Africans, stay in the right place where Africans should be in the world. And then Obasanjo is joining us. He's jumping into our train. So basically, the letter, we receive it with great joy. And he's been with us, really, because he's been encouraging us. But right now, it's come out for us, which is very good for us. And we're all working, like he said, this is the time to pray and work hard to change Nigeria and make Nigeria a better place. So we are so happy and we're working on it. We're grateful and we're praying for more people to jump into the train. I mean, the Obidati train.
Well, before we continue with you, we also have in the studio this morning the media director of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, in Osun State, Mr. Oladele Bamiji, who is also live in the studio. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Osun. Good morning, WSTV. Happy New Year.
Well, Happy New Year to you too. Happy New Year, Mr.
Yeah, I forgot to say. It's so wonderful that I forgot to say Happy New Year.
All right, so let me get to you straight away. When that letter dropped yesterday, I know you must have read the letter. How did you receive it, both as a person and as a PDP chieftain?
Well, good morning once again, Nigeria. For us, it didn't come as a surprise. It's one of those comedy of one of those comedies we have in this kind of time at this period when we have electioneering as high as the presidential election. People want to be seen, people want to be heard.
Now, are you saying that Chief Obasanjo wants to be seen or heard?
Yes, without fear of being funny, without fear of prejudiced to Baba's right of choice. We know the kind of person our father has been. Is Sir Baba here, and in this part of the world, you find it very difficult to be rude, to appear to be rude to those who are older than you, especially father figures like the OBJ. We know the kind of person he has been. Is a general, an army general who does not want to go away. Has always been the only general in his standing that will always want people to see him in this kind of time or at this period. We have also some other generals who are also movers and shakers in as far as Nigerian politics is concerned. We have Babangida, we have this our Taraba Baba, we have this we have Alhaji Abubakar from Niger State. They are also doing their stuff as fathers of the nation underneath, but Baba, true to his own kind of nature, will always come out to attempt at times like this to railroad or to attempt to railroad Nigerians into doing things in his own whims.
But let's look at the content of Obasanjo's letter now. He did make some very valid points about the state of the country. Shouldn't that be, I've read the statement of the APC, will come to that. Shouldn't that be the focus? Should we not be considering the fact that as an elder statesman, he has raised some very valid points about the state of the nation? Politicking aside.
If you want to justify your position, you always want to say something to justify whatever position you take at any point in time. Not even OBJ at this time. If I'm here to defend my party, he was also doing whatever he did yesterday, or whatever he wrote, or whatever he put in that letter to justify his position. You don't expect him to just tell us, Nigerians, go and vote for Peter Obi. He will say one or two things like he used to say to justify whatever position he takes at any point in time. But I think he has a record of these endorsements, and we are also living witnesses to outcome of those record of his endorsement. It's a pity that Papa is still living in the past of dictating to Nigerians at this time of age.
You see it as dictating to Nigerians. That's how you see it.
Yes, what they should do, what we should do. I think it should have taken a cue from what happened here in Osun State. People, in essence, people have moved on from where we used to, or he used to be. As a leader, as a foremost leader in the country, where he used to be, people are now taking their own electoral destiny in their own hands. People know what is good for them at a particular time. And we also know what is good for us as Nigerians in the context of what we have on our hands.
We'll get to you. Now, are you worried, he just said, that... And that's what the APC too said, that Chief Obasanjo has a track record of endorsing people who end up not winning the election. Does that worry you for your candidate?
The problem is not about winning or endorsing and not winning. Basically, there's something most people in PDP and APC, there's something they're all overlooking. Now, why does he write letters? He's a major Nigerian stakeholder in what we can call the Nigerian nation. And his concern, which you can't take away from him, has always been national integration, or what we can call nation building. Now, I think that's his major concern. So when you were talking about justification, that is the justification. Nigeria that he bled for, he served, he's trying to protect. It's normal. It's a normal thing. It may not be always right, but in this letter...
Do you think he's right in this moment? Yes,
absolutely. Now, look at what he wrote. He gave us 4 conditions. He gave the Nigerian youth 4 conditions. He said track record, that's the first one. Vision, that's the second. The third, he called it character. That's what we call Omoluabi here. And the fourth, he called physical and mental capabilities. Now, when you look at that, and based on that, he said Obi is the best. He didn't say others are bad, funny enough. He said they all want to be like him, but he thinks Obi has an edge. I don't think that is just someone trying to see or make himself visible during an election period. That's some serious business for Nigeria. Now, when we begin to see Nigeria the way Nigeria is today, all the problems we have, the problem of insecurity, the economy, and pervasive corruption, then you begin to see what Baba is saying, that Baba is really serious. And we are with him. And we believe and we will work hard to make what he's saying possible. And what a lot of people don't know again is that 71% of the people in Nigeria, of the voters, are youth. And we're tired. Yes, and we're going for it, all out for it. Yeah.
So let's come to HOB now, Mr. Bamiji. Some part of, I would like to read a paragraph of Obasanjo's letter. It says, after giving some reasons, it says, for these reasons, I kept pointing out to them, talking about the other candidate, that the instruments used in 1999 to 2007 and the methodology used will be grossly inadequate for the perilous situation we now find ourselves. Your candidate has been, talking about some things he would do that are similar to what OBJ has said. Don't you think that having worked with him, the OBJ now has a better understanding of the track record of the candidate?
Perhaps Baba is, in that context, Baba, to me, is also shooting himself in the foot. The method or the methodology of 1999, if we can recall, endorsement was also part of it. That this big name endorsed me, that big name endorsed me. And in 21st century and going forward, if anybody is still banking on the methodology of endorsement by anyone, especially in the mode of someone people can readily take as one of the principalities bedeviling Nigeria, that if people will have their way, can easily push off track, that please go off our way. Get hid behind me, Satan.
That's Obasanjo referring to.
I'm just throwing that analogy. That if we have our way, the youth, my brother is pointing at, if the youth have our way, there are some elements, there are some principalities in this country that will say, if we have that power, please go off our way. If we are like God, OBJ will be among those who will not spare, so that we will have a breathing space. Their neck, their knee has been perpetually on our neck. We don't have a space to breathe. If we could breathe, perhaps OBJ would be somewhere like Bill Clinton, like George Walker Bush, doing their thing backstage, helping their country and other nations. Or like our own Baba here, who want to appoint president for us in year 2022 and beyond.
So if OBJ had endorsed Atiku Abubakar, would you have this position?
It would have, you see, I keep repeating this. Nigerians have moved forward. It would have been more of a burden than all this positivity.
So you would have had an issue with it?
It would have been. Nigerians have problem with some elements in this country. Don't deceive yourselves. Nigerians have problem with people, with someone who attempted a third term in his own time. In his own time, that attempt would have thrown this nation off balance. It would have taken us into tumult.
But he was in your party at that time.
Yes, that he was in my party does not take the kind of the person OBJ away from his. That is the problem. That is the basis of the problem he has with Atiku up to today. That he did not have a kind of rapport with his vice, with his deputy then. Alhaji Atiku Abubakar was not in the same boat with him. And Alhaji Atiku and some other factors in the country, aborted that plan. That is the best. If Baba OBJ is speaking theological grammars or what have you today, to buttress whatever he has against Atiku, corruption, this and that, don't let us deceive ourselves. That is the problem. If he had had his way in Atiku too, supporting him with his third-term ambition, then perhaps we will not be talking all this. Baba has a way of taking a dig at those he think he has an axe to grind with.
But this
Yes, he will not support Asiwaju.
But supported him in the last election.
He supported him, but what did we get?
But he did.
So was Obasanjo's support endorsement for Atiku the reason?
Because he had. Let me tell you why he supported Atiku then. My brother, let me tell you why he supported
HOB, let's.
Because I need to tell him because he was not around then.
Who wasn't around?
Okay, so I'm sorry. So
see, the issue about old school, new school is not about mechanism or method of endorsement. If someone endorses someone, all right? That's not the issue. What OBJ is talking about is the old school type of government is gone. Now, what he's talking about is mechanism of governance, not like he wrote in the article, if you read it, he said that it's not like the president said so, but that the president we want is somebody that's tops on, somebody that talks to us every day, someone that's agile, someone that's you can add this to it, someone that is very, very cool and down with the 21st century. Not some old gag, not someone who's shaking while he's talking, or not the old school people who have run this country down. We are tired of that. We need people, young people who are in the system, 21st century system, who can change this nation. And we all have that. Obi says he wants to take us to the fourth industrial revolution. He wants to move us from production, from consumption to production. Those are the elements of the new school. Now, he's saying something about third-time agenda. That one is gone. And I read OBJ's biography. He said he wasn't part of it. People say that he was part of it, but that is not the issue. The issue now is Nigeria is burning. That's the problem now. Things are not okay. And see the dollar-naira conversion rate, fuel crisis. There are issues we have to solve. We're now talking about third-time agenda. I mean, it's our future, for God's sake. Like Obasanjo wrote to say, this is the future of the youth. This is the time to stand up. And this is time to stand up and decide for your nation and move your nation forward.
Well, there are those who see Peter Obi as part of the old stock, having moved from the PDP now to the Labour Party. And they're saying that, how is it so different? And Obasanjo also made that point that none of them is a saint.
Yeah, nobody is a saint.
So what difference does it make, saying that he comes from the PDP, that Obasanjo is also endorsing?
One major difference is this, that Peter Obi supported the NSAS movement.
Is it all about the NSAS?
To many of us it is. It's a political manifestation of NSAS. We're tired. People don't understand these things. We are tired. I mean, we can't go on like this. I have mates all over the world. Am I where they are? Are they more intelligent than me? And it's like that for many Nigerians, very intelligent people. Now, one thing really I would like to talk about now is this. I've heard this from Baba Adebanjo as well, as Afenifere. Now, we're talking about nation building. We're talking about rotational presidency. North, the turn of the North, it's the turn of the South. Now it's the turn of the South. Now, in the South, it's the turn of the Southeast. But now let's put that aside. Now, when you look at competence and all those things Baba, our father said, as Obasanjo, those things I just spoke about, is track record, vision, character, and then physical and mental capacities. Now, when you had that to hit, I think those are the main issues now. Do we want a nation? Do we want this nation to continue? How will this country look if another person from the North is going to rule us? Will there be peace? Are we going to be able to manage diversity? You know, those are the issues, really. And it will be better if we all come together and say, okay, fine, this nation is moving forward based on equity, based on justice, based on equality and management of diversity. Now, some people wouldn't like to say that. Some people don't really, in Labour Party, they don't like to emphasize the regional factor, but it's a very important factor as well. We can't go on like this. We want a nation that will move forward as a united ground, just like the first what do we call it again? The first point agenda for Peter Obi is uniting Nigeria, basically ending banditry, ending insecurity, managing our diversity. Basically, those are the issues, not third-time agenda.
Okay, so now there are some concerns. I want to come to the statement of the APC now before I come back to Mr. Bamiji. The APC is saying that Chief Obasanjo's endorsement is not a political currency. Mr. Peter Obi can spend anywhere in Nigeria because he's not a political force, even in his part of the country. That's talking about Obasanjo now. And it says that Chief Obasanjo similarly endorsed Alhaji Atiku Abubakar against Buhari. Atiku was walloped. And saying that a lot of other things have been said. Now, your candidate, as well, your principal, is running against the tide. He's running against an Asiwaju who, we know who he is. We know who Atiku is and the kind of hold that they have on the political system. How do you see Obi breaking the hold of his men?
Well, basically, breaking the hold of this man depends. I think that's why basically Obasanjo wrote to the youth. Like, check the second paragraph of his letter. He said, I'm writing to Nigerians, especially to the youth. Basically, that's it. I accept that Labour Party is not like PDP or APC. We're not as organized as they are. We're not, like Obi himself said, we don't have the structure. But when he talks about structure, he's talking about corrupt structure. Yeah, we don't have it. We saw what happened in last Osun election. So how people were buying votes. We saw how people have 20 polling unit agents. All of them were paid. Yes, we paid some money and they were buying votes. We don't have that, but we still believe we are going to win. Yes, we are going to win.
All right, we'll go on a very quick break.
Can I add this?
Okay, before we go.
Now, what we have about 800 Peter Obi Dati support groups. In Osun State, we have about 41. We have doctors for Peter Obi, women for Peter Obi, artisans for Peter Obi, POSN, which I'm also the coordinator in Osun State. You have groups like that, cutting across all over. Those are the people we depend on, the people suffering, the people that want change. So we're going to win.
All right, you're still watching Morning Spring on Western Spring Television. The conversation is getting heated, so we need to take a break right now to, calm a lot of things down. But we're still talking about the endorsement of Labour Party's presidential candidate, Peter Obi, by former President Chief Olusegun Obasanjo. There's been so much reactions to that particular issue since Baba's six-page letter dropped yesterday. We'll come back and continue to interrogate that letter. We still have in the studio the Director General of the Labour Party presidential campaign here in Osun State, Mr. Olusegun Babalola, and of course the Media Director of the People's Democratic Party in Osun State, Mr. Oladele Bamiji. So stay with us.
Affected, sound, found. What do we see? What do we say? Flowing from a spring. A fact A to Z. Check and confirm. Ever expounding current events. Traveling down from the business gist to the globally arising happenings, to the sports news, to the bittersweet infos. Guided transmission, even diffusion, vast and fast, detailed facts are fled. Within seconds, nuggets of words that flew across borders are fired. Stories short and long, wrapped in bundles of words, broken and dissected as it is, except misheard. This is the news as it is.
Sports is a culture on its own. It has its own language, its own people, with their own way of life. The world of sports is never void of actions, stories, dramas, and scandals. I guess you need a sports show that can walk the walk and talk the talk.
On this show, we answer all your sporting questions. The whens, the whys, the wheres, and even the what ifs. Sports Spring is that show that will give you that new lease of life you've been looking for in sport journalism. Join me, Joseph Atewe,
And your sports Amazon, Nengi Enes.
on this station, Western Spring Television, channel 190, only on Star Times.
Let's talk sports. Let's speak the most universal language of the world.
All right, thank you for staying with us on Morning Spring this morning on Western Spring Television. We've also been having conversations, we've still been having conversations around the first day of the year 2023 and what happened with the political, in the political sphere. Chief Obasanjo, Olusegun Obasanjo, former president of Nigeria, stated his preferred candidate for this year's, I was very tempted to say next year's election, but it's 2023 already, this year's election. That will be taking place just next month. Now, let's continue the conversation. I'd like to open with the PDP media director in Osun State. Now, I know this is not your party's statement, but you said something related to what the APC has said. The APC said the endorsement is worthless because the former president does not possess any political goodwill or leverage anywhere in Nigeria to make anyone win a councillorship election, let alone a presidential election. He's a political paperweight. He's also not a Democrat anyone should be associated with. So why have candidates been going to seek his support if they see him as a political paperweight?
I don't even expect that they should be that hard on Baba. There are stages you will attain in life. You cannot help it, no matter how you try. There is this economic point you will reach. That is diminishing return. If not, by now Baba would have taken wise counsel, if not from political associates, but his own children, that is now in Baba status, and he should play.
So isn't that what he's doing?
He should play more of backstage support, coordination, other than throwing his hat in the ring and costing himself a lot of brickbats here and there. But it is his nature, like I said. You cannot help. If anyone, as Yoruba would say, you cannot help some situation. This I am. This is I am. I'm an ego-tripping kind of human being. That will always manifest in whatever I do. I want people to see me as the all in all. But like we said, when he grudgingly, reluctantly endorsed Alhaji Atiku Abubakar in the last election, what did we get? In his polling unit, right there in Ota, PDP, if I'm right, PDP got 18 votes, while APC got 87. Even right in his polling unit, after all the endorsement. So you cannot but laugh at the kind of endorsement Baba is doing 4 years after with our man, because I call Peter Obiel our man because it's a fine guy, it's a fine gentleman, and who I know by the grace of God will still come back to the PDP to be part of Alhaji Atiku Abubakar's government.
You are very sure your candidate will win, and then Obi will come back?
That is the fact.
Okay.
Peter Obi is our sibling. You cannot throw somebody like that, such a gentleman, away with the bad water. He might appear prodigal today in company of the likes of Principality Baba Obasanjo, but that does not take the finesse in him away.
So you acknowledge that he's very qualified to run for office?
Well, why not? Even as I'm here, even you as a Nigerian, we are all qualified to be there. But the realities in Nigeria, we must acknowledge. Don't let us sit here to deceive ourselves. You want to contest election in Nigeria, and you think Nigeria of today, that structures don't matter. My brother, I'm from Egbedore local government. You want to contest election in that local government. You don't know Honorable Bamidele Salam. You don't know Mama Atinuke Oyawoyi. You don't know Akinade Tumabin in Osun. You don't know Ogunri Aden in Iragberi. You don't know people like that. And you want to contest and win election. Oh boy, don't deceive yourself. That is where we are. And that is the picture of the reality of Nigeria political firmament today.
Can
You
I,
want,
can I say something?
Yeah,
wait,
yeah.
wait. You
Let's-
want to
let's-
win the election? I don't know. I don't know how LP. Look at the last election, the July 16 election in Osun State. You want to say Honorable Lasun Yusuf, former Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly of the House of Representatives, is not a fine man. Which is point marshalling, eloquence, and what have you.
sorry.
What did he get?
I'm sorry, you're giving him too much.
No, no,
What did Honorable Lasun Yusuf get? With us his finesse as LP candidate, 2,700, less than 3,000 votes.
See,
I don't know the miracle.
So
for instance, here in Osun State, that LP will perform.
Mr. Babalola,
They will not get more than 3,000 votes.
Mr. Bamiji, please. Mr. Babalola, much has been said about structure. You know, if you want to contest for presidency, you have to have senatorial candidacy because you can't be a president without having a say in the National Assembly. Do you see that structure? And seeing that the APC is saying that OBJ cannot win his polling unit, do you see the structure angle to your principal's ambition crippling?
Okay, now there are two issues. The first is this: is the old school notion of structure. There's something called prependalism. It was a term created by one professor in the United States called Richard Joseph. He lectured for some time in UI. Prependalism basically is connected. It's like when you say tribalism plus corruption. You know, people who are in power, like what Obasanjo said in the book on competence. But competence is based in the letter. But now competence is based on self-interest, which manipulates ethnicity, religion. You know, those are the traits of the old school. You see, if you're listening to me well, you see that I'm talking about old school, new school. Now, the old school, they are prependalist structure. They create structure in which they buy people's souls to vote for them. Now, but when Obi talks about structure, he's always saying something like, people are my structure. We have structure.
Does he have the people?
Listen, we have structure. Now, what happened in Lasun Yusuf's election, the election we had in July, it won't happen again. I promise you. It won't. Now, as I'm talking to you, I'm the coordinator of Osun State, right? I can tell you we have structure. Okay. And happily, we have, unlike some states, we have all the senatorial candidates. We have at least, I can say we have almost 95% of all the candidates. We have strong candidates. We have Honorable Fashogbon in Osun East. We have Barrister Babalola in Osun Central. We have Barrister Akinbade in Osun West, who's going to defeat Bamidele anyway, by God's grace. So we have structure.
As what? As senator?
Yes, by God's grace.
You don't even know what Honorable Bamidele is contesting for. That's the part of the problem.
Honorable Bamidele.
Salam. Yes.
Salam. Is he not the senatorial candidate of Osun?
That you don't even know. That is part of the problem. The structure goes beyond all this Twitter or Facebook grammar. He does not even know what Honorable Salam is contesting for. You will not. You see, I don't even know where APC is in Egbedore local government, for instance.
We are in Egbedore local government.
Let him finish.
Okay.
Let me finish. Maybe I misplaced the name or something. But we have structures. We have people.
And those structures will translate to votes?
By God's grace. By God's grace. I told you we have more than 40 support groups in Osun State, and they are all working. As I'm talking to you, we have structure. Yeah, the only thing I would say is we don't have corrupt structure. That's just it. We don't have buyable corrupt structure or people. We don't have money also to buy votes.
But do you have money to run your campaign?
Yes, we do.
Because there's been so much talk about the Labour Party running on goodwill and all of that. We know they give shishis actually a term.
No, we're not giving shishi means we're not bribing people. We're not buying votes. But we are going to spend money for the campaign.
So your party has money?
We're going to do a rally on the 7th, on Saturday this coming week. Yes. Are we not going to spend money?
Oh, yeah. Okay. So now let's look at some of the other things that OBJ said. He said that it's time for the youths. You know, they said he came back at 62 and left at 70. Mentioned the likes of General Gowon and Inauro, who came in at 33 and 27. And he also said that the youth should chant our Lokon as opposed, it's our turn as opposed to a candidate saying
Emiloko.
Do you? I want to start. Do you agree that now is the time for young people to come on board? Does age have anything to do with experience and competence?
Not necessarily. Age and competence are not necessarily always together.
So you agree that being a younger person may not translate to competence?
Yes, but what I think Obasanjo is talking about is representation. Someone that represents the youth. How old is Peter Obi? 60. Is he a youth? He's not. But he's talking about someone that represents the youth, and at the same time, someone that is still agile, unlike somebody that shakes like a leaf. And I think that Emiloko, of course, we all know who that is directed at. Tinubu, basically, because he came up with Emiloko. So basically, what this is the age of coining words, you know, from Emiloko to Awaloko, you know. So Obasanjo is trying to say that we should move away from the egocentrism, which he was talking about.
Yes. I like us to be quite civil with our comments, please, so we don't.
Okay, sorry. He's trying to tell us that we should be more collective. I think that's one of the last words in the letter. We should be more collective in the way we see things and in our solving our problems. Basically, I think that's the major point against Emiloko.
So let's go to the PDP now.
Yes, I hope the youth Baba was trying to hoodwink.
Hoodwink?
Yes, to sway with his letters. Is a man of letter. I had wished that for a man who so loved Peter Obi so much that he gave his first letter writing in 2023 for endorsement. Perhaps when Dr. Peter Obi was in PDP, this same power of letter, power of influence will have been so escalated on the PDP stakeholders. Then, when we were having the PDP primary elections, to talk to PDP stakeholders to win presidential ticket for Peter Obi, rather than embarking on a journey of no profit. Because the youth is trying to sway somebody like me. The youth in me.
Are you saying that you're
because
you're
youth is not just in your number of age. It depends on your ability to think deeply. I should be able to dissect who is talking to me. I should be able to, if I'm so young not to know the man OBJ, I should be able to go into the archive of history to know who he is, what kind of human being he is as a person. And why should I be compelled? Why should I be swayed with this man talking to me as a youth? So the youth in me will first of all dissect him. Will first of all weigh the kind of human being he is in the whole concept of a human being, before now taking to his advice or instructions, because he writes like he was instructing Nigerians to vote for a particular candidate.
Yeah, can I say
for me,
let them drop his point and then.
So for me, Baba, yes, with due respect to him, I repeat, Nigerians will not be swayed, and Baba should please, for God's sake, it's our limelight. It's a man I'm finding it so difficult because it's our father figure in the Southwest here. But Yoruba will say, like I was saying, Yoruba will say, Boju Oba to ton, what to tibi. If I don't know what is happening in Abia, in Enugu, in Imo or what have you, I know what is happening a bit in the Southwest. He should not reduce himself. Baba OBJ should not reduce himself to a laughing stock. I'm very sorry to say, such that I don't know the kind of magic he used to preach to me, a youth, a young man, to go and waste my vote for somebody who will not win.
Let's not
That is the
use
truth.
those terms. But you do agree, before I come to him, that there are some youths who will follow this line. Do you agree with that?
We are so populous. Nigeria is so populated, so that even if you have a stone, to market for people and you call it another name other than stone, you have people who will buy it.
All right, so
that is the kind of people. That is the kind of people that will buy salmon.
Let's not impugn the character of our voters, please. Let's get to Mr.
What I want to say is Baba has gone beyond Southwest politics. He's gone beyond that since.
Even he has gone beyond his own politics.
Baba Obasanjo is one of the greatest Africans alive.
Yes, I agree.
He's gone beyond local politics or even Nigerian politics. For those who know about international politics, Baba at the time still probably is the president of all the presidents in the world. Baba is someone who will come to love in future. If I had my way, I'll change Abuja to Obasanjo's name. Is that great? Obasanjo is that great.
He's a great man.
Now, what I want to say is this, which I think you should look into. There is a movement. The movement was aborted. Again, I'll talk about NSAS. The people on the streets, those are the youths. The youth is not. It's not that you are old and you say that you can be a youth too. The people on the street at that time, people that died in Lekki, those are the youths. Now that thing was repressed, but it's there, and it's boiling over. Baba has joined. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. Baba has joined. He has given it approval now so that it will manifest politically, not violently. This country is going to change, either anybody likes it or not. It will change. We may say we don't know how it will change, but that's why we're working hard. Now, Baba has endorsed that change. When Baba endorsed Peter Obi, he's endorsing a change. I'm just trying to reply to what he said about swaying the youth. Baba is not swaying the youth. It's the youth that have swayed Baba. Do you get my point? It's the youths that have swayed Baba. And I think really, I pray that God will give me the grace to have that opportunity Baba Obasanjo has now. He knows he's at the later period of his own life, and he's trying to make the best decisions, not only for himself, but for the whole Nigerians. I think that's what he's doing. I don't see him like someone that's trying to force himself, trying to make people see him, or trying to dominate the space. All he is concerned about is Nigeria. It's about unity of Nigeria, about diversity, about inclusiveness. That's all he's concerned about. It may not be right all the time, the way he goes about it, but this time around, he's super right, and he's in sync, like what we do now, say nowadays, he's in sync with the movement, with Obidati movement. Basically, that's what I would say.
Now, I also want to ask you now, Mr. Babalola, the APC is alleging that Obasanjo does not possess any political goodwill, and it's not a Democrat. But we've seen recently his efforts in mediating crisis on the African stage, especially most recently in Ethiopia, where he led a team to resolve the Ethiopian Tigrayan conflict. Does that speak to the fact that he is more efficient outside the country than within the country?
Like they said a prophet is not, how do they say it again? Prophet is not loved or something like that at home. I think basically, but I think that was said by APC, it's ridiculous. Like what has been saying, he has been talking about Obasanjo with respect. Fine, there may be some issues, but what is said by APC is absolutely, I think it's just because they're the most it. PDP didn't come up with any slogan that Obasanjo attacked or used to frame his letter. Basically, the most important term he used there is Emilokon. So they should feel hot, and it's okay, because we can see now they are hot and they're not being logical. So most Nigerians will see the comment and will just pass it over. This is illogical. Just as illogical as their illogical presidential candidate.
No, let's not do that.
Oh,
please.
sorry.
Let's
I'm
not.
sorry.
Let's not do that.
Yeah.
We try to be very civil with our comments, but we're running out of time, Mr. Bamidji. some of the things that were said in OBJ's letter are what people have repeated over time. They need to bring Nigerians together. They need to ensure that we're not as fragmented as we are now. And your candidate has been touting himself as the unifier, but there are those who say that he cannot even unify his party. So how does he intend to unify a deeply fragmented country that is divided along ethnic and religious lines?
No, anyone who knows Alhaji Atiku Abubakar will attest to the fact that he's perhaps the only candidate around that find it so easy to crisscross the country. He has friends all across. His campaign has been so seamless because of the contact he has all across the country. Like we see him in Osun State as our in-law. Same thing in the southeast, all over the country. Those who are taking a look at what is happening in our party will understand. If they don't want to be mischievous, then they know what we have on our hands. Even Dr. Peter will be moving away from the party. Those who have deep knowledge of what happened in the PDP will attest to the fact that the arrowhead of the man leading some of these governors, the few governors away from the PDP, was the cause of people like Dr. Peter will be moving out of the PDP and some other defectors we had in the past. So it's no issue, and you hardly can sway somebody that is hardened in his heart as the man we have in Governor Wike, who I believe over time will still be persuaded by the need for Nigerians to survive, for Nigerians and Nigerians to survive, rather than serve ambition or what have you. In terms of capacity, in terms of status, in terms of exposure, in terms of ability to relate across board, I don't know if there is anyone that has it over Alhaji Atiku Abubakar in this context. It's perhaps the most Nigerian of all the contestants we have at present. He can easily come to Osun State and feel at home. He can easily go to Abia State and feel at home without necessarily looking around who somebody want to attack me or something. Alhaji Atiku Abubakar is a pan-Nigerian candidate.
There's also the issue raised by Olusegun Obasanjo about the age. Are you not bothered about time and age telling on your candidate?
But what do we do? Even my brother here has even attested to the fact that even former Governor Peter Obi is not a young man himself in the reality of it. He's over 60 years. So what are we talking about?
No, you got me wrong.
What
60 years.
What we have on
Peter
our hands.
Obi in 60 years. It's different from Atiku.
I think I have my time.
They are very. Oh, sorry.
I think I have my time. Age depends on what you have upstairs. Alhaji Atiku, I don't know if there is any gavel or anything you can take out of all of his campaign. He's the one that started earliest in this campaign period. He has not been found wanting. He has not been making reckless blue bala or what have you around. He has always been cohesive. Is perhaps the most exposed to the job. Experience you don't buy it in the market. What you are doing here, nobody can beat you to it. If I want to, it will be difficult for me to upstage you, no matter how I try. I'm the media director of PDP, and who am I to think I want to upstage you here? This is what you do. Somebody who has been around the corridor of power, who has been exposed to what is to do there as president of this nation, I believe is the most competent, is the most prepared, as far as I am concerned, as far as our party is concerned. Yeah, you cannot, all the over 1,000 delegates of our party cannot be wrong. And even at the most ridiculously difficult moment of choosing between or amongst several of our candidates, of our aspirants there, before the majority came for Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, people who want Nigeria to take another direction from what we have presently. Security-wise, economic-wise.
Can I reply? I'd like to leave it with you there, Mr.
Can I reply?
Because of our time. But before I'd like to add something to it too. Some of the online polls have given your candidate an edge, and there are people who have said that the Obidati movement is a social media movement. Do you think that that's what it's going to be for this year's election? And how confident are you that he can upstage? Let me use this word, upstage the strong, so-called stronger candidates, if you mind.
Well, I would say that we have a rally on Saturday. We invite you all to come and see if it is a social media party or if it is a real party. But I've told you, and I'll say it again, we have structure. We have the movement, yes. We have structure, and we are going to win. But I would like to reply what he said earlier about Atiku. I accept. Have you read OBJ's biography? He admits Atiku is all over Nigeria because he was able to achieve further character through marriage, by marrying from all parts of the nation.
Perhaps if you are not good enough to, if you don't have that kind of Nigerian mindset, you will not even do that. You will not even attempt.
I'm agreeing with you on that. Yes, he is all over Nigeria. But my candidate, Peter Obi, is better. He's all over. He has support groups all over Nigeria, all parts of the nation, women, men, young, old, and they believe in him. And then he said something about delegates cannot be wrong. Our delegates too cannot be wrong now. Even APC's delegates cannot be wrong. That's the wrong part. That's the wrong way to argue. But generally speaking, we're talking about unity. We're talking about management of diversity. But I don't think it's something Atiku can do in this age, in the party in which he is at this moment. Like I've said earlier, we need a Southern president. Yeah.
All right, so we'd like to leave it at that this morning. We've been talking about the political saga currently rolling in Nigeria. Yesterday, former president of Nigeria, Chief Olusegun Obasanjo, publicly endorsed candidate of the Labour Party, Peter Obi, in this year's general elections, causing a storm of reactions from the other parties, the PDP and the APC. We're yet to see the reaction of the NNPP that also has a candidate in the election. So we've been speaking this morning to the coordinator, director general of the Labour Party's presidential campaign here in Osun State, Mr. Olusegun Babalola. Thank you so much for joining us on the show this program. Yeah. We've also been talking to the state media director of the People's Democratic Party, PDP in Osun State, Mr. Oladele Bamiji, yes. Thank you so much for joining us on the show this
morning. Thank you very much, and Happy New Year once again.
Yes, Happy New Year once again to all our viewers. That's the interview segment of the show. After this break, I'll be bringing you what's trending. Remember, you can follow the conversation on all our social media platforms, and I'll see you after this break.
Arrested, affected, sound, found. What do we see? What do we say? Flowing from a spring. A fact A to Z. Check and confirm. Ever expounding current events. Traveling down from the business gist to the globally arising happenings, to the sports news, to the bittersweet infos. Guided transmission, even diffusion, vast and fast, detailed facts are fled. Within seconds, nuggets of words that flew across borders are fired. Stories short and long, wrapped in bundles of words, broken and dissected as it is, except misheard. This is the news as it is.
Sports is a culture on its own. It has its own language, its own people, with their own way of life. world of sports is never void of actions, stories, dramas, and scandals. I guess you need a sports show that can walk the walk and talk the talk.
On this show, we answer all your sporting questions. The whens, the whys, the wheres, and even the what ifs. Sports Spring is that show that will give you that new lease of life you've been looking for in sport journalism. Join me, Joseph Atewe,
And your sports Amazon, Nengi Ernest.
on this station, Western Spring Television, channel 190, only on Star Times.
Let's talk sports. Let's speak the most universal language of the world.
Here are 5 amazing fun facts I bet you never knew about Christianity.
Number 1, there are over 2.4 billion Christians worldwide.
Amazing fun fact number 2. The Bible is one of the best-selling books of all time, with more than 100 million copies sold every year.
Most Christians believe in heaven and hell.
The Bible is the most translated book in the world, with more than 3,000 languages.
Amazing fun fact number 5. Most Christians throw science out of the window without realizing that most scientists are Christians. Hello, I am Pastor Steve Akinwumi.
And I am Dr. Adeoye Oyewole.
Join us as we highlight and discuss day-to-day issues pertaining to the day-to-day living of every Christian.
Issues in Christendom shows every Sunday on Western Spring Television, channel 190, only on Star Times.
According to the words of Michael Forbes, one who never asks questions either knows everything or nothing. Watch me as I ask the questions you think no one wants to answer. Even questions it appears no one has got the guts to ask. My name is Femi Adefila and I've got the gut. Let's ask the pertinent questions and watch as we get answers.
Turn it up! It's the Wild Wild West, and Western Spring Television is pulling out all the stops to make sure that you don't miss out on every of the fun and happenings around you. Yup, we've got you covered because your girl got all the juiciest tidbits and entertainment news from around the world. Cross over to the chocolatey side of entertainment. Join me, Chocolate Cassie, on Eccentric as we take you into every bit of the juiciest news, fashion, music, movie updates, and other trending conversations. Together on the show, we'll get personal with your favorite celebrities via phone call, Zoom, or even live here in the studio. Eccentric will be shown on your TV screen on Western Spring Television, channel 190, only on Star Times.
It's Monday, January 2nd, 2023. Welcome to Spring Trends, the very first edition of the program this year, this month, and this week. My name is Emmanuel Ujadugele. You already know what we do for you here on the show. We tell you who is trending, what is trending, why they are trending, and what people are saying about the who, the what, and the why. I am sure that you enjoyed your festive period. They enjoyed the new year. For those who didn't enjoy it, it's just a couple of days before the next new year. You can prepare your minds and then, get ready to enjoy. And of course, there are also other festivities coming up in the course of the year. And before we start the show this morning, we'd like to remind you to go get your PVCs before it closes on the 22nd of January 2023. Now, straight to business. We've been talking about the PDP, the APC, and former President Olusegun Obasanjo on the show if you followed the interview segment. And that's what we're doing here on Spring Trends this morning. We want to show you what people are saying on social media about what happened. Now, what really happened was that over the past few weeks and months, a lot of endorsements have been going on and people have been talking about their preferred candidate. And yet today, former President Obasanjo came out publicly, wrote a letter, 6 pages. I was talking about who Nigeria needs, what Nigeria needs at this time. And he openly endorsed Peter Obi, saying that he is the lesser of all devils. Let me use that term. I don't know why we're still stuck between devils in this part of the world. Well, but that's Olusegun Obasanjo's opinion of his preferred presidential candidate. And that whipped up a storm yesterday. Let me show you what people had to say on social media, especially on Twitter, about that incident. Dozier PhD says Afenifere endorsed Peter Obi, Obasanjo has endorsed him, Padebanjo endorsed him, and one man is there shouting Emilokan. The people that matter in Yoruba land is supporting Peter Obi, and you're there shouting Omoale. Well, that's from Dozier this morning. Next comment comes from this person who calls himself Wale Akerele. Says this man will continue to be disgraced. Starts talking about Obasanjo. Obasanjo has no credibility. He came out of jail with 20K in his account. He became Nigeria president. 8 years later, he became billionaire. Nigerian youths, be wise. If Peter Obi is truly who is claiming to be, he would have told him no. Well, that's Wale's opinion coming from Wale Akerele there. Akerele now. Badamo Sitinde says, congratulations to PO, that's Peter Obi and LP Labour Party. This should be taken to bank as a winning password. Let me quickly caution the jubilation. It endangered his popularity in the Southwest as OBJ has once again demonstrated his hatred for any Yoruba aspiring for Nigeria president. We must again stress that these are opinions of social media handles and do not in any way represent the position of this media house on the subject matter. Next comment is Joshua says, some people saying OBJ is not relevant. What was your candidate and entourage looking for in Ota? Those saying his endorsement failed have forgotten he endorsed Yar'Adua and GEJ, and they both won their first term. So history will repeat itself. Obi will win his first shot. The next comment is Victor Olushola says, no endorsement will decide the outcome of 2023 elections. Obasanjo also endorsed Buhari in 2015. And what has become of our nation? Only Nigerians will endorse who will become their president and not an individual. Kelechi Ojinaka says, this is the old general sounding what might be his last bugle to marshal the troops to fight for the future of the country he loves. He has seen it all. He knows these men more than any of us will ever do. He has nothing to lose. We have everything to lose. The last comment there is a particular picture trolling the APC and the PDPs and the National Tears Collection Point. You can see the large tanks that he wants to use to collect the tears of the PDP and APC and others after Obasanjo's endorsement. Well, that's that on the endorsement from Obasanjo. Immediately after that letter, the Presidential Campaign Council of the APC, led by Bayo Onanuga, released a statement describing President Olusegun Obasanjo in very strong words and describing that endorsement as worthless. Also, Deputy Spokesperson of the Campaign Council, Festus Keyamo, came up to us to give his own point and say that that endorsement is worthless. So what did people say? How did they react to that particular incident? Will says, Bayo Onanuga, let me take Will. Bayo Onanuga claimed OBJ's endorsement of Peter Obi is worthless. But the same Bola Ahmed Tinubu, after being enemies with Obasanjo for eons, suddenly remembered to visit OBJ in August 2022. The same man whose endorsement is worthless. Emilokan is jonesing. We move on now to Siga Prima. Says President OBJ has no value, yet his principal, talking about Tinubu now, did everything to ensure that he visited President OBJ, and they were all happy about it with their John Gudon, the mature chance. Elections will be held next month, and Nigeria will win at last, not Emilokan. Next comment is from Theo. Theo says, the same Tinubu went to Obasanjo for support and came out to lie that Obasanjo had endorsed him. Why was he seeking OBJ's endorsement if it is worth nothing? Eugene Chooks says, would he have said the same thing if OBJ endorsed Tinubu? SAN, the jungle is getting mature. And we moved over to Facebook where we had a comment from Adesomi Elumaro. Says, Keyamo, we are not surprised at all. Nobody has become Nigeria's president since 1999 without OBJ's express endorsement. Maybe God has given him a special assignment and grace for that purpose. Basil Bernard says, Keyamo does not understand the time and season we are in Nigeria. He's still speaking like a layman. There is every sign and handwriting on the wall that Nigerian masses want Peter Obi to be their president. It's not by power or might. Nobody will take this honor unto himself. God bless Nigeria, and may his perfect will and not his permissive will be done. Martins A. Tomi is our last comment on that story. It says, from structureless to few people tweeting in a room, now endorsement has no effect. Better tell Buhari to build hospitals before then, for the heart failure you corrupt politicians will undergo. Only few will survive it. But that's for the APC fighting former President Olusegun Obasanjo over his endorsement of Peter Obi. Now, there's also endorsement in the news, but this time coming from the PDP. A former presidential aspirant and current governor of Rivers State, Nyesom Wike, has come out to deny allegations that he openly endorsed presidential candidate of the APC, Bola Ahmed Tinubu. In this viral video now, he debunked having endorsed anyone or even having met with anyone. Let's take a listen to that video.
They had an interview with BBC. We can say we had a deal with so. Meanwhile, no video.
You want to stand here?
No voice, anything. And some of you waste your time to listen to such things. Forget all this rumor mongering every day. Tinubu has said to this one, Obi has said to this, Obasanjo has done this has done this. So you can see people who instead of them to focus on their campaign. Am I contesting election?
Well, you've heard Governor of Rivers State, Nyesom Wike, saying that he has not endorsed anybody, he has not had any meetings with anyone. Now let's see how people have reacted to Wike's denial of that endorsement. To start with Khalifa. Khalifa says, wicked Wike. Let's leave Wike alone and focus on issues and people that matter. The chances of Wike endorsing Obi is almost non-existent. So dissipating energy on him won't help us. I've moved on. Sterling Bassi says, truth is only politically naive people would not know that Wike's rhetorics over time and his recent romance with the APC points to the fact that he has a deal with Tinubu. Dear obedient, if we expect Wike and friends to openly endorse Tinubu, then we deceive ourselves. Ignore them. Tash, his next comment says it's intentional. Propaganda was used by Hitler to achieve his carnage. I'm so surprised Nigerians hate themselves this much. Honest Jagabanist says, you see what I was saying? This man no endorsed Tinubu, them done already, they spread fake news. A Captain Obedient is the last comment for the program this morning. Says, let's leave Governor Wike and G5 controversy. If they come on board, fine and good. If they don't, the Obi movement is now bigger than 5 people. My 2 pence though. But that's that about Wike's endorsement denial. So much about endorsement flying around. The people endorsing these, people denying having endorsed that. But that's the much we can take for you on the program this morning. Don't forget to follow us on all our social media platforms, on Facebook and Instagram at Western Spring Television, on Twitter at WSTV_NG, and on YouTube, Western Spring Television. You can subscribe to our channel so that you can catch up on any of the editions you've missed. My name is Emmanuel Ojadigele. Happy New Year once again, and stay safe.